I'm Heather Renton. I'm the CEO and founder of Syndromes Without a Name, otherwise known as SWAN Australia. So we were told at 8 months by my daughter's paediatrician at the time that my child had global development delay. She was behind in every area of development and they thought she was having multiple seizures. We were then referred on to a neurologist who said that she didn't have that spark he thought a child her age should have. We first saw genetics at 14 months and we were told she looks like a child who might have an extra bit of chromosome or a bit missing. He thought she had a condition called congenital disorders of glycosylation, CDG syndrome, type 2X. We had blood samples and skin samples drawn from our daughter, and they were first sent to different labs in Australia and then sent to a lab in Belgium. After a year, we still didn't have an answer. So more skin cells and bloods were taken and sent to a lab in the Netherlands. After 2 years, the samples came back and I was told that my daughter didn't have CDG syndrome. I was shown 2 slides and said, look, she doesn't have it, but let's wait for the Netherlands tests to come back. 3 months later, they came back and we were told she doesn't have CDG syndrome. So back to genetics, another long wait, and another geneticist thought she had Loewe-Dietz syndrome. We waited 6 months for those tests to come back and we were told she doesn't have Loewe-Dietz syndrome, but I still think she has it. I think it's an incorrect reading. Finally, we got into a research project and we were offered a trio exome where they sequenced my DNA, my partner's DNA and Rebecca's DNA. We finally had an answer, FOXP1 syndrome. All in all, we waited 5 years over a 9-year period, and no parent or child should have to wait that long for a diagnosis. When you don't have a diagnosis, it's really difficult to explain your daughter because you don't know how they're going to develop. You only know what you know, and that's where they are at that point in time. You know, Rebecca took a long time to walk, a long time to talk. We didn't know whether she would even achieve those things. You know, we didn't know whether she'd be toilet trained. So there's so many unknowns, and I went on antidepressants, I wasn't coping. I used to bawl my eyes out every Friday when my son was in creche. I couldn't believe this was happening for me and I was in denial. I felt so isolated, even at early childhood intervention service at the beginning, because everyone had a diagnosis. They ticked that box. We didn't tick a box. You know, I wanted to belong to the autistic family or the Down syndrome family, the family that had support, because we felt so isolated. And I had so much anxiety going on and worry. I couldn't think straight. I was just in survival mode. And it didn't help that my daughter would wake up 7 or 8 times a night and I didn't sleep. I look back and I think, how did I even function? You're just in that survival mode. You know, I was confused. Why hadn't we, got an answer by now? And it's frustrating, having to repeat your story all the time to specialists. When you finally get a diagnosis and the one that fits, you feel like a weight has been lifted from your shoulders. I actually didn't realise how much anxiety, stress, worry I was carrying until we got that diagnosis, and it was just like this relief. Even though there's still a lot unknown about FOXP1, the more families we connect with, the more we learn, the more hope we've got for our daughter that she'll live a relatively healthy life. I remember reading articles about FOXP1, looking at photos of other kids and going, yes, my daughter fits this box. And I remember meeting a paediatrician in the street because she lived quite close at the time. And I said, Kate, have you heard we've got a diagnosis? And she said, no, what is it? And I said, it's FOXP1. And I said, it presents with speech issues, language issues, poor fine and gross motor, but it also presents with difficult behaviour. I'm not a crap parent. And it was that permission to go, it's not just me. There are challenges with this condition. The best thing for me about having a SWAN child, there's a few things. One is I get to experience a different type of parenting. Another thing is I have made the most wonderful friends. I would never have met these people had it not been for my daughter. And having a child with a disability, it makes you reassess your values. You work out what's really important in life and you let the other stuff go.